Today's video is all about my best luxury travel tips. I have tried to gather everything that I know about traveling with tens of thousands of dollars worth of bags, accessories, and ready-to-wear from years and years of experience to help you keep yourself safe and all your luxury pieces nice and neat. I would like to help you make sure that none of your pieces get lost, damaged, or stolen. So we'll dive into everything you need to know about how to pack your luxury pieces, what accessories you don't want to travel without, or at least I know I would never want to fly without, some of which might be quite unexpected, all the way to some of my best tips on shopping abroad smartly and safely. So if you would like to find out how I travel with my luxury pieces and how I have been traveling with my luxury pieces for years and years and years to make sure that I keep myself safe and all of my pieces nice and neat, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. Safety is definitely going to be a running theme in today's video because I'm hearing from more and more people that they don't really feel comfortable carrying their luxury goods, especially when traveling, which makes perfect sense because there is so much newness around you when you're traveling. You're not really familiar with your surroundings. You don't really know a lot of the people around you. You don't know your way around the city or wherever you're at. You might be taking new forms of transport. So there is a lot to wrap your head around, and the last thing you want to be doing is constantly checking who's behind you and looking behind your shoulder. And as much as I love traveling with designer bags and designer suitcases, I completely understand why it would be a safety concern for so many people out there. You guys know that I love my Rimowa suitcases. I have been traveling with them for years and years and years, but as some of you pointed out in my Rimowa deep dive, they're not only incredibly expensive, but what would you like to add to this video? What do you have to add? Tell me. Tell me, my firstborn. We have to film for our friends, my baby. We have to film. How about we play in like 10 minutes? Can we make a deal? 10 minutes? 10 minutes, my baby? I love you. Yes, you can use me as your pillow. Sorry guys for the interruption. My needy baby needed some attention and a snack, so I've just given him his lick mat. And while he's working on that, I can get back to talking to you guys. So what I was saying is that Rimowa suitcases are not only incredibly expensive, but as some of you pointed out, they are becoming more and more widely recognized. So it makes sense that you would want something a little bit more understated, not only when it comes to your personal bags that you choose to travel with, but also your suitcases. So I was really excited to have the chance to try the latest launch from CASETiFY. They have just launched a new suitcase, and I'm very grateful to be working with them on the launch of this new suitcase. And you might be wondering, wait, CASETiFY? I thought CASETiFY makes phone cases, which that's true. They're best known for their almost indestructible phone cases, but they have just recently launched the Bounce carry-on, which is actually inspired by the same German engineered technology as their phone cases, and they're called the Bounce suitcase because they feature these reinforced corners with this bounce technology, which means that you can drop, toss, and drag these suitcases. The majority of the shock will be taken up by these reinforced corners, which I have tested. I have been dropping this all over my apartment, and I can tell you it is incredibly hard wearing, which is of course very important when it comes to a suitcase. You know, when I first heard that they were coming out with a suitcase, I was quite surprised because at first I didn't really realize, or I couldn't think of what a suitcase and phone cases have in common. But the more I thought about it, the more sense it made, and the more I realized how much they actually have in common, because the two pieces in your life that will take the most amount of beating are your phone, and hence the phone case it lives in, and suitcases. I mean, these are things that need to withstand quite a bit, and these are things that you can drop, toss, drag down the stairs, and they will be just fine because of these reinforced corners and all the German engineering technology that goes into every single one of these suitcases. Every single detail is so incredibly well thought out, from the bounce corners through the puncture-proof zippers, because this is actually a suitcase that comes with a zipper, which some people like, some people don't like suitcases with zips. I personally like them because it makes the suitcase a little bit more flexible. Like, you can pack these a tiny bit more because there is a little bit more give, whereas when it comes to a fully hard shell suitcase, when you close them, you close them, and if they are too full, there will be no stretch whatsoever, whereas with a zipper, you get a tiny bit more. There is a tiny bit of extra room that you can play around with because the zipper will stretch, but it is a completely puncture-proof zipper, so you don't have to worry about it splitting or it coming apart if you pack this suitcase to the brim. And then a detail that I think a lot of people will appreciate is the fact that it is fully customizable. So these suitcases come in 3 different colors. They come in black. Obviously, you guys know that black is my favorite color, so I went for black, but it also comes in a beautiful shade of ruby red, which I have to be honest, I was quite tempted by. If they ever launch these suitcases in a larger size, I think I would pick up the ruby red version. And then it also comes in cobalt blue. And then the front you can also customize. You can not only make it different colors, but you can also have it sort of engraved with your initials. Well, it's not engraved, it's more like a laser printed with your initials, and you can choose the font of your initials, the color, and also how big you want your initials to be. So I went for my initials, which are of course G.P.S, and I chose to go for red. You can choose from a ton of different colors, but I actually love the combination of black and red. So I do have G.P.S on here, but you can also make the font a lot bigger. You can also make it a little bit more obvious if you choose to do so. So you can really play around with colors, but black is obviously my favorite color. And another thing that I noticed about this suitcase is how smooth it glides. I do think that it has the same technology in the wheel as Rimowa does. So the wheels actually turn 360 degrees, which to me is very important because it doesn't matter how beautiful a suitcase is, how hard wearing it is. If it doesn't feel really smooth and if you cannot roll it easily, it just ruins the whole experience. So I love the fact that it feels just as smooth as some of the most luxurious suitcases out there, yet this is not something that will break the bank. I have already taken this on a little road trip and I absolutely loved it, especially considering how easy it is to pack, because unlike most suitcases, it doesn't only feature 2 larger compartments, but it actually has an added layer of organization. So there is this layer where you have a dedicated pocket for AirTags. Don't forget about that because that is a point that we'll come back to, traveling with AirTags. But this particular suitcase actually has a dedicated pocket for AirTags in addition to all the compartments that it comes with. So you have a dedicated laptop sleeve in there. You have all these pockets for your chargers, your cords, and even your passport, which just helps you keep your life a lot more organized. Speaking of which, you know what else I love from CASETiFY? This they did not ask me to talk about, but something that I love, and it is a travel essential for me, is the CASETiFY charging block. If you travel a lot and you need chargers with different plugs, but you don't want to carry converters around, I would highly recommend trying the CASETiFY charger. So if you're going to order this, make sure to add a charger to your cart because they do the best chargers. I can actually go and grab mine just so you can see what it's like. So this is the charging block I was talking about. It actually has 2 plugs. It has one for your MacBook and one for your phone. And this is pretty much it. This is how big it is. And then it has these really cool plugs that it comes with that you can really easily remove. So you have the European plug here, but you can really easily slide this off. Then you have your regular American plug. And then I think in the pack you also get one of the 3-prong British plugs, which is just really cool. And I love how easy it is to change, and you don't have to carry a million different converters and plugs around. All you need is this, and this works for both your MacBook and also your phone. So this is genius, and it is really a life changer and a lifesaver since we are talking about CASETiFY. But again, this is not part of this campaign. I was only asked to talk about the suitcase, but I really love both of these things. Anyway, going back to the suitcase, I love how easy it is to organize. And if you are looking for a suitcase that is insanely hard wearing, it feels luxurious, it is customizable and fun, but will not break the bank, this would be something great for you to look into. And it's also so fun to have your suitcase fully customized with your initials and choosing different colors. And the fact that you can drop it, toss it, drag it down the stairs, and most of the shock will be taken up by this bounce technology, to me is really quite genius. I just love how they translated what they know into a brand new product. And I was really surprised at first that they would choose to come out with a suitcase. But as I said, the more I thought about it, the more sense it made, because a phone case and a suitcase actually have quite a lot in common. And I just really thought it was ingenious. And as I've been using this suitcase, I have really come to appreciate all these smart little features. As someone who appreciates design, I love when details are really well thought out, and that definitely goes for this suitcase. So again, a big thank you to CASETiFY for working with me on the launch of their newest suitcase. And if you would like to give them a try, I will make sure to have a special link listed in the info box for you. Let's get into a highly debated, extremely controversial topic, which is how to pack. There are rollers, there are flat packers, and there are people who swear by packing cubes. Personally, I do believe that it is the combination of these three techniques that will give you the best results. As aesthetically pleasing as I find people who strictly pack with packing cubes, I don't think it is the best way to take advantage of your suitcases. I know that some people will disagree, but personally, when it comes to traveling and trying to pack everything into a carry-on, which is my preferred way of traveling, I used to be someone who swore by checking everything in. I always traveled with a big trunk, a carry-on, and then also a personal bag. I have to be honest with you, these days I prefer traveling with just a carry-on and a personal bag. And I do think that the best way to pack is to make sure that you roll your knits and all your softer, bulkier pieces. I do think that rolling those will help you save a ton of space when it comes to larger puffy jackets and coats, and also more delicate pieces, so things like tailored trousers, jackets, and blazers. I think those are things that you want to lay flat on top of all your rolled pieces. And then when it comes to things like underwear, socks, activewear, things you don't have to worry about quite as much, that's when I will reach for a packing cube, just to make sure that I can keep all of those smaller little things a little bit more neat. And then I will try to have shoes stacked around the edges of my carry-on, just to save as much space as I possibly can. And I will reuse some plastic bags. And then another thing that I will always have in my carry-on is also a laundry bag. So I do have a couple of laundry bags that I got at nicer hotels, and I will always have one of those things with me, so I can put all my laundry into one of those laundry bags while I'm away. But when it comes to packing, I don't think there is a one right way of packing. I think it really depends on what you're packing. So think about it this way: when it comes to knits and things that are a little bit more plush and soft, I would roll those. When it comes to more formal pieces, things that you don't want to get wrinkled, basically anything that you would hang, I would pack flat on top of all your rolled pieces. And then last but not least, when it comes to smaller things, so underwear, socks, activewear, shorts, those are things that I would personally put into a packing cube. And don't forget about having either a larger dust bag with you or a dedicated laundry bag, just so all your laundry can come back nice and neat, and you will not have dirty clothes floating everywhere. That would be, I think, my best tip when it comes to packing, not only luxury pieces, but anything and everything. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can have one laundry bag for all your regular clothes, and then a dedicated laundry bag for those things that have to be dry cleaned. So as soon as you get home, you can just take that bag directly to the dry cleaner. But how do you decide what to pack and where you pack it? So I do have a little bit of a system at this point when it comes to packing. As I told you, I used to be a big overpacker. Well, I haven't said that, but I did say that I used to swear by having a check-in luggage with me, which I no longer do. And in order to avoid that, I have to be really strategic about what I pack. So what I do is I always check the weather before I start packing of the destination that I'm traveling to, obviously, just so I get an idea for what pieces I'll have a need for. I'll write that down, and then I'll write a list of all my activities, just kind of as a starting point. I will not have, full-on itinerary written out, but I'll have an idea for what occasions I'll need to have pieces for. So if I'm traveling to see friends, if I'm traveling for work, if I'm traveling for fun, I will write some of the bigger activities down. just so I get an idea for how many outfits I will need. And that doesn't mean that I'll create full on looks for each and every single one of them, but I just try to count how many more formal outfits I'll need. I'll try to see if there are any pieces that could work for multiple occasions. So if I have, let's say, 2 formal dinners, I know that I will not have to take 2 different pairs of pants. I will probably need 1 pair of tailoring pants, and then a jacket, a blazer, and a knit that goes with both, and then several t-shirts, because obviously I will not rewear a t-shirt. So looking at the weather and having an idea for what occasions you'll need to dress for, I think really helps, rather than just chucking things into your suitcase hoping for the best. So having a list for me is incredibly helpful. And then when it comes to what you pack where, obviously if you are checking in, all your larger pieces, or the majority of your larger pieces, should go into your check-in. But when it comes to pieces that are extremely valuable, irreplaceable, or you just cannot bear the thought of going without, all of those things, in my opinion, should go into your carry-on, not including bags, because I do have a different way of traveling with bags, which we'll move on to in just a second. But all your more valuable pieces of ready-to-wear, shoes, jewelry, all of that, in my opinion, should go into your carry-on. But one accessory that both your carry-on and your check-in luggage will need is an AirTag. Now, if you have never heard of an AirTag, it is basically Apple's very sort of dumbed down tracking device. It is a tiny little coin shape, basically chip, that you can put into your bag. You can have them on a key. You can pretty much put them on anything and everything. I even have one for Pi's collar, and that basically allows you to track anything that the AirTag is attached to. So I will always have an AirTag in my check-in luggage. And as I told you, my new CASETiFY carry-on has a dedicated AirTag case inside, just so you can always track your pieces no matter where you are. And trust me, these AirTags will be life-changing. I even have AirTags in all of my luxury handbags, or not all of them, but most of them. And what's great about AirTags is that they not only come in handy when you're traveling, but you can also have them, as I mentioned, in your handbags at home. So if you're out and about and one of your bags starts moving, you will immediately get a notification. So you know, okay, there is something going on. One of my handbags has grown feet and he started walking around. So you will immediately get notified. And I would not suggest that you take your AirTag out of your luggage when you get to your hotel. Keep them in your luggage, so if you go out to explore and something happens in your room, you will know immediately what's going on, or at least you'll know if your suitcase gets moved, which to me is it just gives me a peace of mind knowing exactly where all of my pieces are. So AirTags are definitely something that I swear by, and I would highly encourage you to invest in. There are very few bags. In fact, I can only think of 2 that I would ever consider putting into a suitcase, not only because I want to keep my eyes on my bags, but also because of their structure. I do not want any one of my expensive handbags to get squished inside a suitcase. So the only bags I would ever put into a suitcase is my Chanel 22 bag, just because you can lay it completely flat. There's no structure to that bag, so it can really easily be packed inside your carry-on, but I would never put it into a check-in suitcase. Always put bags and more prized pieces into your carry-on, but that is something that if you are looking for a larger bag to travel with, but you don't want to carry it on your arm while traveling, a Chanel 22 is a great bag because it is something that you can pack flat, or the same goes for my Dero poly bag. So those 2 bags I would consider putting into a carry-on, but I would prefer not to. So when it comes to more structured bags, how do I travel with those? So here I am talking about a Birkin or a Kelly. Obviously, they are bags that I have traveled with a countless amount of times. I could not count on 2 hands how many times I have traveled with Birkins and Kellys. So I do have a full-on protocol when it comes to traveling with these bags, and it really depends on how many of them I'm going to be traveling with. If I'm only going away for a few days and I really don't have a need for multiple bags, I'm only traveling with one, what I will do is I will use a Birkin or a Kelly as my personal travel bag, but I will always keep a really simple tote bag inside, just so I can put it over my bag while I'm at the airport, so I don't draw unwanted attention onto myself. And it also allows me to very comfortably put it under the seat in front of me if they ask me to do so, because you never know what's hiding underneath the seat in front of you. So I always put my more expensive, more valued bags into, sometimes I even take their dust bags with me, but these days I have to be honest, I don't do that quite as much. But I will always have a larger tote bag with me. It can be a tote bag that you got from a grocery store, it can be a reusable tote bag that you got, I feel like a lot of bookstores sell them. So just use a tote bag that you don't have to worry about, something that's large enough to fit perhaps your handbag, and if you pick up anything in duty free, a magazine, a snack, a bottle of water, those are all things that you can put into this tote bag, and it will make your bag, it will not only keep your bag safe, but hopefully it will also keep some eyeballs off of you. And then if you are traveling with multiple bags, I will always create this doll of bags. I will always put smaller bags inside larger bags. So if you're traveling with, let's say, 3 or 4 bags, you can have the largest tote bag, then you put a smaller bag inside. So if you're traveling with, let's say, a Birkin 40, you can have a Birkin 40, then put a Birkin 35 inside that, put a Birkin 30 inside that, put a Constance bag inside that, and then maybe a mini Kelly next to it. I don't think, well, I'm sure that a Constance would not fit a mini Kelly, but you get the idea. You basically take the largest bag and you start stacking the smaller bags inside of it. And then what I will usually do is I will either put all of these things into a large canvas tote bag. Of course, you can use a tote bag that you already have in your collection. So if you love, let's say, the Goyard tote bag, that's something that you could use. You can also use the Louis Vuitton Neverfull, but personally, I like to use a canvas tote because it is the most understated, and if anything spills, if there's anything underneath the seat in front of me, I really don't have to worry about the canvas tote bag, not to mention that it is slightly more padded than a leather tote bag would be. Or what I will do sometimes is I will take an actual duffel bag, a really lightweight padded canvas duffel bag, just to give my bags as much protection as I possibly can from the outside. It is a tip that I have shared before, and I know that so many of you have bought the MZ Wallace bag that I used to travel with, which I still have and love. So that is a great recommendation. I will make sure to have that listed and linked down below for you. It is a tried and tested handbag, which fits, well, handbag, kind of a duffel bag that's extremely lightweight, it's padded, and it fits bags as large as a Birkin or a Kelly 35, or if you're looking for something even larger than that, I would love to put the Lululemon gym bag to your radar, which I did not actually buy this specifically for this purpose. I bought this as a gym bag, and it has quickly become one of my most used bags, full stop, because all I do these days is work, go to school, and work out, and of course walk by, but I don't need a large bag for that. So it has quickly become one of my most used bags. I have also traveled with this, and what I love about this is that unlike the MZ Wallace bag, which is a lot smaller and a lot lighter than this one actually has this sort of band that you can slide onto the handle of your suitcase, which means that it is going to be a lot more stable, and it really easily fits much larger handbags. It's padded, it's light, and the straps are very comfortable and quite long, so you can definitely carry it over your shoulder even with things inside of it. So if you're looking for a gym bag, I would highly recommend this. But if you're looking for a specific travel bag that is understated and that could potentially keep all your other pieces safe, this would be an amazing bag for you to add to your collection. But as I said, even as a standalone gym bag, I would highly recommend it. So the one thing that I always have to check to make sure I have with me, other than my passport before a flight, is a canvas tote bag. I always make sure to have a canvas tote bag in all of my designer bags. Even in my Chanel 22, which is a very easy bag to travel with. I have traveled with it several times, but even in that, I try to keep a tote bag just so I can put it on as a cover in case I feel like there's too much going on or I land and I don't feel the most comfortable with my surroundings. I will always put it into a canvas tote bag, and it also makes it easier for me to just put it under the seat in front of me and not have to worry about it. And speaking of traveling with ambiguous bags, let's move on to some of my quick tips when it comes to shopping abroad. So the first tip that I would have for you is that if you go to Chanel, Hermes, Louis Vuitton, whatever luxury store you choose to go to, I would suggest asking for an ambiguous paper shopping bag. So brands like Hermes will always have simple white paper bags on hand instead of the orange bags. If you really want to have your orange bag, you can ask them to just put the orange bag inside the white bag, but I would personally not advise you to walk around London or Paris or even New York with a large orange bag if you're not familiar with your surroundings, and if you want to, let's say you're not only going shopping, but you also go exploring. I think it's always better to stay under the radar. So brands like even Cartier has white shopping bags. So just always ask for a simple white shopping bag instead of a branded bag. When it comes to shopping in the US, I'm not really sure if it's a thing in Europe, but I definitely know it is a thing in LA and New York, the places I have lived and shopped. I never lived in LA, but I have shopped in LA. So what some of these stores will do, well, most luxury stores will do, is they can have your pieces messengered to your hotel. So if you are traveling and you're not just picking up something the very last minute, and the reason I'm saying the very last minute is because I would not want you to not have your messenger arrive on time. So if you have, let's say, a day left, not that it's going to take an entire day for your pieces to be messengered, but you never know. Sometimes there is an awkward cutoff time, or maybe your messenger cannot find a hotel, or they cannot get an appointment with the messenger until the next day. So the reason I'm saying is that you have a little bit of buffer. So let's say if you're not leaving for a couple more days, make sure that you ask your boutique or the boutique that you're shopping at to have your pieces messengered to your hotel. Or some boutiques will even have things shipped to your home. So if you're traveling domestically and not internationally, you can also have your pieces not messengered, but shipped to your home address, which makes it a lot easier. And sometimes you can also save on tax depending on what state you live in. But if you're traveling abroad and you would like to carry your own pieces back home with you, which I completely understand, I would still advise you to ask about messengering. See if your boutique could have your pieces messengered directly to your hotel, so you're not responsible for carrying all these pieces around, especially if you have a lot on your list, not just shopping. And then last but not least, when it comes to shopping abroad, I would advise you to call ahead. I think a lot of boutiques will be very accommodating with that. Here, I'm not talking about Hermes. Don't try to call Hermes because most likely they will not pick up the phone. But if you are going to Chanel, Dior, Cartier, or any other luxury store, and there is something very specific you're looking for, I would actually suggest that you give them a call, see if there is perhaps an advisor that they could connect you with, just so you can tell them what it is that you're looking for. So maybe they have a little bit of time to collect the piece that you are after, or perhaps pieces. If there are multiple things on your radar that you would like to try, I think it can never hurt. Sometimes they will not be able to help you with that, but I think more often than not, they will be quite accommodating. So I would definitely call ahead. I would make sure that I ask for a really simple white shopping bag. And last but not least, ask the boutique about having the pieces messengered to your hotel. But please don't do it the very last minute because unexpected things can always happen. So make sure that you have at least a 24-hour buffer between the piece being purchased and you leaving the country. And then one more thing for you to consider is import taxes. I don't really know what's going on, but a lot of my friends, well, most of my friends seem to be going to Japan in the near future. And Japan famously is extremely good for not only luxury shopping and vintage shopping, but I believe they don't charge you sales tax on luxury pieces as a tourist. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have never been to Japan, but I know that for some reason, luxury shopping tends to be quite good in Japan. So all of my friends are asking me if there's anything that I am on the hunt for, which is very kind of them. But something that you should never forget is import taxes. So you might not be charged sales tax on site, but whenever you go back home and you enter the country where you live and where you're going to be using these pieces that you acquired abroad, technically you are by law required to declare what you bought while you were away traveling. And in some cases, this import tax or these duties can make your pieces more expensive. Make sure that you do the math and see if it would be worth it for you to just buy it from your local boutique, if it's something you can get at home, because I completely understand that there are certain things that you will not be able to buy wherever you live. So that is just something for you to keep in mind, and make sure that you do all the math that is required, because I would not want you to end up with something that really just ends up costing you more than it should have. This brings us to the end of today's video on my best luxury travel tips. Please let us know in the comment section if you have any tips for the travelers out there. Let us know how you like to travel with your luxury pieces. Are there any things that you think we should keep in mind, or some things that you picked up from your experience of traveling? I always love learning from you. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, make sure to give this a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And if you would like to give the new CASETiFY Bounce suitcase a try, make sure that you check out the link in my info box. A huge thank you to CASETiFY for working with me on a portion of today's video, and an even bigger thanks to you guys for being here and watching. I really appreciate you, and I cannot wait to see you back here with a new video really, really soon.